Welcome to the Innovation Unpacks Deep Dive, where our mission today is really to just cut straight through the massive corporate panic and, honestly, the hype surrounding AI right now.
Yeah, there is a lot of hype. Too much, really.
Right. And to do that, we are digging into a really provocative manifesto by Mike Boysen, which just completely dismantles the current enterprise playbook for artificial intelligence.
He really does tear it down. I mean, look, the central claim in this dossier is staggering.
It is.
Boysen argues that 90% of the generative AI co-pilots being built today are just a complete and total waste of capital.
90%.
Yeah, 90%. But, we aren't just here to admire the critique. We're going to give you a precise physics-based toolkit to build AI that actually works.
Exactly. So let's jump right into the baseline rule of this entire article, because it's a rule that seems to be completely ignored by almost every major company right now.
Right. It's the foundational law of operations. You cannot automate a fundamentally broken process.
Yes.
And you definitely shouldn't make it talk back to you. I mean, if your underlying data structure is a mess, adding a chatbot to that environment just creates what Boysen calls an accelerator for dysfunction.
An accelerator for dysfunction. I love that phrasing. So essentially, adding a conversational interface to a broken workflow it's like slapping a high-tech spoiler and a fresh coat of paint on a car with a blown engine.
Exactly.
I mean, it looks incredibly fast sitting there in the driveway, right? But it's not going to get you anywhere.
No, it's not. You've basically bought $1 million dashboard for a vehicle that literally doesn't run.
Right. And to understand exactly how this blown engine scenario plays out in the real world, let's look at the massive, just brutally expensive case study from the manifesto.
Oh, the LexaCorp fiasco.
Yes, the LexaCorp fiasco. So picture this. You are an executive at this massive mid-stage enterprise, LexaCorp.
Okay.
And you are bleeding cash in your legal department.
Yeah.
We were talking about corporate lawyers billing at, $800 an hour?
$800 an hour, easily.
Right. And they were spending 40 hours a week manually reading these 200-page master services agreements.
Which is just exhausting.
Totally exhausting. They're these incredibly dense vendor contracts filled with $50 million liability caps, aggressive penalty triggers. It's a massive operational bottleneck.
So the VP of operations naturally panics. Margins are shrinking, right? So he writes a $2 million check to Oracle for a custom generative AI copilot.
$2 million. And they promise this AI will just ingest those massive contracts, parse all the archaic legalese, and instantly generate a clean summary.
A nice little 5-point bulleted summary. Yeah.
Right. So the executives are thrilled. They wait 6 months. They launch the tool, expecting this huge drop in review times.
Yeah.
But, and here's the kicker, 30 days post-launch, the active user count was 0.
0.
Literally 0. The lawyers completely ignored it.
Which honestly brings us to the actual mechanics of why it failed. Boysen explains this through this concept of solution jumping and the danger of the near miss.
The near miss,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. The executives looked at the lawyers, saw them physically reading paper, and just assumed the job was reading.
Right.
Therefore, the solution must be reading faster. But reading is just an analogy.
Wait, hold on. Let me push back on that for a second, just on behalf of anyone listening who maybe works in engineering.
Sure, go ahead.
Isn't summarizing dense text exactly what generative AI is best at? I mean, it feels like the technology did its job perfectly, and the human lawyers were just, being stubborn or resistant to change.
Well, it's a really natural assumption to make, but the human wasn't the problem at all. The executives built a brilliant solution for the completely wrong objective.
Really?
Yeah, think about the stakes. If that chat box hallucinates a single word or misses a hidden indemnity clause, it could cost the company $50 million.
Oh, wow.
Right? And who takes the fault for that? The AI. No, the lawyer loses their license. So the AI didn't remove any friction.
I see.
It actually added a redundant chore because the lawyers had to read the entire contract anyway to verify the AI's work.
That makes so much sense. So how do we avoid that trap?
Well, this is where Boysen introduces axiom-driven job mapping and the first principles drill. You have to find the atomic truth of the work.
The atomic truth.
Right. The undeniable economic axiom of a corporate lawyer is not reading. It is the quantification and transfer of financial liability.
The quantification and transfer of financial liability. That completely flips the perspective.
Exactly.
And the manifesto gives this incredibly strict 9-step chronological structure of the human struggle, right?
Yeah, the 9 steps.
Let's see. It's define, locate, prepare, confirm, execute, monitor, resolve, modify, and conclude.
Now look closely at those steps. Notice anything missing. The
Ah,
word read isn't in there.
oh, right. It's not.
Because reading is just how a human does step 2, which is locate. That $2 million AI only vaguely touched the locate step.
And it left the most critical part, step 5, the execute step entirely on the shoulders of the human.
Precisely. The execution of the red lines.
So buying that AI was basically like hiring a highly paid sous chef who only chops the onions, leaves them on the floor, and then expects you to cook the entire meal
Yeah.
while you're double-checking to make sure they didn't accidentally chop up a poisonous mushroom.
Yeah.
It's completely unhelpful.
That's a great analogy. It really highlights why product-centric mapping, or just mapping software features to surface-level tasks, is such a trap.
Which naturally brings us to how corporate research usually works and why it's usually a complete disaster.
Oh, it's terrible.
I mean, the illusion of exploration, the corporate listening tour, it's so absurd.
It really is.
You have these expensive design agencies pulling tired, overworked employees into rooms, asking them to invent business strategies.
Right, asking people who are just trying to get through their inbox to redesign the company's AI infrastructure.
Exactly. And the result is you get these incredibly expensive hallucinations based on complaints about the office coffee machine or, having to click too many times on a SaaS dashboard.
Yeah. Optimizing the SaaS dashboard is the classic mistake. Boysen has a strict rule for this. We are testing a hypothesis. We are not exploring for a problem.
Testing a hypothesis.
Yes. You must isolate a single massive point of economic friction, like that legal review bottlenecking global sales. You don't ask people what they want. You find where the business is bleeding money.
Okay, but if you isolate that friction, how do you test it without building another $2 million mistake?
You build a minimum viable prototype, not a product, a prototype. You use brute human labor to fake the future.
Oh, right, the Wizard of Oz test.
Exactly. Instead of writing code, LexaCorp should have locked 3 junior paralegals in a room for a weekend.
For what, like $400 in wages?
Exactly, $400. Tell them to act like the AI, have them write the summaries.
And then hand it to the senior lawyer.
Right. And they would have instantly seen the senior lawyer reject the work because the liability risk was still there.
Wow. They would have saved $2 million in 6 months of time just by faking it.
It's that simple.
But wait, let me ask a highly practical question for you, the listener. Because if you are a manager or executive listening to this right now, how do you actually pivot your team away from these comfortable brainstorming sessions?
It's tough.
Right. Like without crushing their creative morale.
Oh.
How do you enforce this hypothesis creed?
You have to redirect their creativity. You tell them, we aren't here to make our current software slightly more tolerable. We are here to locate the most expensive friction and completely obliterate it.
I like that.
You give them the axiom-driven job map. You challenge them to find the true atomic truth of the work.
So they become architects of the logic,
Right.
rather than just decorators of the interface.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so let's say we've done it. We've validated the true friction manually. We know step 5, the execute step, is the real problem. What does the right technological solution actually look like then?
Well, this is the big reveal. The most powerful AI in the enterprise is completely invisible.
Invisible.
Completely. No cute name, no greeting animation, and absolutely no chat interface.
Wait, really? No chat interface at all?
None. Boysen calls this a structural inversion, or a labor inversion.
Right.
We aren't building features to make typing faster.
Right.
We are shifting the unit of value delivery from an $800 an hour human to a near zero-cost AI compute engine.
Okay, let's paint the picture of what LexaCorp should have built then, because this ideal workflow is fascinating.
Go for it.
So an invisible background engine intercepts the vendor email, right? It reads the contract, locates the toxic clauses, prepares the counter-arguments, and actually executes the red lines.
And it does all of that in about 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
Yeah.
So when the lawyer opens Microsoft Word, the work is already done.
Exactly. The human doesn't have to prompt anything.
They simply use their expert judgment to review the red lines and click approve.
Yes. This flips the entire dynamic.
It really does.
Yeah.
The human is no longer a manual laborer who has to constantly prompt and manage a machine.
Right. The machine does the heavy lifting.
And the human is elevated to their true axiomatic purpose. They become the final judge of risk.
Which is exactly what they are paid $800 an hour to do.
It's so elegant when you look at it that way.
It is. It's physics-based logic.
So for you listening, think about the powerful toolkit you now possess. You have the first principles drill to find that atomic truth.
axiom-driven job mapping to outline the real steps.
Right. You have the minimum viable prototype to fake the future for a few $100.
And the concept of the structural inversion.
Exactly. You are no longer a firefighter chasing symptoms on a listening tour. You are an architect building logic-based intelligence.
And I'll leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on that.
Oh, please do.
If the most powerful, frictionless AI is completely invisible, operating silently in the background, what does that mean for the future of SaaS interfaces?
Oh, wow.
Right. Will the very concept of logging into software eventually become entirely obsolete, leaving us to only interact with the final executed outputs?
That is a wild thought.
Yeah.
A world without dashboards. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.
Keep questioning the hype. Look for those atomic truths in your own work. And remember, stop slapping a fresh coat of paint on a blown engine. See you next time.